Hello, I'm Silent Death, and welcome to the ninth episode of the comprehensive Ferram Aerospace Research tutorial. Today we will be doing another case study. We will be designing a single-stage to-orbit spaceplane that is capable of lifting a small satellite into orbit. We are going to assume that we have the same text unlocked as in the last episode, namely, advanced aerodynamics, high altitude of flight, landing gear, and precision engineering for the satellite. So let's get started. One of the benefits of building the high altitude, high speed craft that we built last episode is that they can serve as a basis for a single stage to orbit craft. And that is what we're going to do. So our world traveler is going to be single stage to orbit. This is the satellite we are going to be launching. It is very small, has about 1350 delta V, an antenna, power, and a thermostat. Thus, it would be capable to perform contracts in Minmus, the Moon, and with proper air braking, Duna, Ike, Eve, and Gilly. It weighs about 1.5 metric tons. Not a significant weight, but more than what we already have in our cargo bay right now, which we can get rid of. And of course, you could add on the other kinds of components like the goo canister and things for more advanced contracts if you wanted to. See, I think we'll come back to the satellite. For now, let's see what obvious changes we're going to need to make. We're going to have to get rid of the tail. We're going to want to replace this with the rocket fuel one. We'll also want to replace that one with the rocket fuel one. Pellet. There we are. We will want to stick on an engine, a rocket engine. Go with the LVT-45 for the gimbling. And I noticed the last episode that I forgot to take into account the width of the canards when adjusting the length of the wings. So we can adjust that out 1 more meter and still be within things. So we want that. Set those there. Scooch them back. And that's probably good enough. So if you recall from last episode, we already know that this basic design, it's good enough for getting about Mach 4.5 and 26 kilometers before it starts running out of air. We're going to need some more intakes to take care of that. We currently have, if we look at this, about 0.2, 0.175 instead of the 0.03 that we need intake area per engine. One obvious thing we can do is get rid of those. Add in these. And then cram in those back and probably scooch this back a little bit. Let's see what that does to our center and lift and center of mass. Okay, that's not good. We'll have to counteract that a little bit. But that puts us up to 22, or 0.225, or 0.0225. We still need a little bit. I'll stick with stock parts for this, so we'll just use the structural intakes. I would like to put them up here for moving the center of mass forward, but that's not really an option at the moment, as that would cause our NB to go the wrong way. Two 5. 0.275, and then one more set should do it. There we go. Now then, let's see what our thrust to weight ratio is for our engine here. Those are both correct. So we'll drop these down. So we get 1.502 thrust to weight with that. Make sure these are in separate stages. That seems to be okay. Enough thrust to weight to get into orbit. Not enough delta V to make me happy, so we're going to put some fuel in our wings. Make sure it got applied to both of them. And it did, so that puts us up to about 2,000, which is more than enough. Now then, we might want to drain the fuel out of here, but then I would be concerned that we wouldn't have quite enough fuel. I guess that should still be okay. Let's see how much we can shift our mass forward. Fuel tanks. Put a couple of these, and that doesn't really help. Is this really that much lighter than the other fuel tank? Liquid fuel, 1.75. Where'd you go? Rocket fuel, they're the same mass. I guess shifting our engines back must have done it. Maybe we should shift these forward then. A lot. I guess we're going to have to end up shifting these. Still not good enough. We'll put our satellite in and see what that does. Again, still not ideal. That's going to be a little bit draggy. If we expand the wings out, that'll just increase things. Let me see if I can't think of anything to do. Now I realize what I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting the whole tail section thing. That'll shift our center of lift back. So let's put that. One of these days I'll memorize all the keys, but not today. There we go. Let's turn on angle snap. That looks about right. And now then we'll take these off. And they'll need to be... make sure there's two of them. Put that like that, and then if we move the wings back again, much further back apparently, get rid of that. Okay, that's looking better. I bet if we extend these out a little bit, about to there, and then extend these out. That's looking much better. Those are still a little bit further forward than I would like. This could actually probably go out even further now. How is our weight, thrust to weight? Stage 1 is something. Oh, that's that one, okay. Right. Parachutes, you go over here. Yeah, you should not be down here. Be way up there. There we are. 1.15 is not perfect, but it will do. Thrust to weight is still low enough on those. We do have plenty of delta V. Now, normally you want the cargo to be right over the center of mass so that it doesn't affect the center of mass when you drop it off. However, with this design, what we're going to do is we'll set up this tank to pump out first. And that will pump out this tank next. Which will then will also pump out of this tank. Let's put that one there. Oh yeah, that doesn't have any fuel in it at all. So I guess we could probably put some fuel back in here. Yeah, that's not going to affect anything. Make this one pump out third then. And this tank and this tank will balance each other, or all be balanced, to ensure that our engines have fuel here, and these engines should have fuel. So by the time we drop off our cargo, our center of mass should have shifted pretty far forward. We can actually look at that by firing up this. It's not very far forward. Only 0.8 meters. Well, that's, of course, if we burn all the fuel evenly, which we're not going to do. Okay. I think that'll be fine. Now then, we can nudge these back. Okay, maybe replace them then. And then nudge them back. That's fine. All good and fine. Close that. And we're going to need some RCS. Using the B9 RCS thrusters. With the heat shield. That's going to be kind of difficult to get to, but this should work. I want to make sure angle snaps on these. Seems to be fine. These two. What do you have to say about it, RCS guy? Okay, altitude control. Engines, translation. Okay, I think we're going to be fine with all that. So now let's check our numbers. Alright, starting out at takeoff. It tells us that our center of mass is wrong. Looks far enough back to me. Let's see what this says. Okay, maybe we just need to dump down the angle of attack thing we had set earlier. Let's drop that down to 25, and we'll drop this one down to -50. That's probably part of the problem. Yeah. As long as we don't pitch up too fast, we'll be okay. I'm guessing that's going to be manageable. Let's see how it is at 0.5. Okay, yeah. It's just a very, very slow we want to pitch up. We'll be okay. We'll go up to... well, that's really... last time we hit Mach 1 at 3 kilometers. We probably won't be going quite as fast this time. Yep, too much drag. Altitude of 4, then we'll just go all the way up to 10. Again, getting some drag there. Okay, we need to be going faster at 15 kilometers. A lot faster, apparently. That's still good enough, I think. Still only need a 4-degree angle of attack to fly level. That's not bad at all. Then 20 kilometers. Go ahead and go up to Mach 3. Getting really kind of close there. 25 kilometers and Mach 4. Getting some NB problems, which is not terribly surprising. So maybe we want to increase this a tiny bit. What does that look like? Not quite good enough. Probably the intakes are causing some issues with that. That and the length. Let's see what happens if we widen the route by a meter. I don't really want that. Did that help or hurt? That helped kind of. So if we... let's recheck the calculations for the width of our wing at this point and see if we can get any wider there. I've decided to add these little twin tail section here instead of just making this very, very large, which made NB go quite positive. So that was efficient use of weight, I think. Might want to scale that and make these bigger, but I think we'll go with what works right now. But our MW has gone back the wrong sign. We're going to scale this down a little bit, and then we'll scale this one back down even more too. That's really, really close. Guess we don't need the angle of attack due to our weight thing. Could do some flaps to help us with that, but I don't really want to. Let's look at what this static thing says. At Mach 4. Okay, so our angle of attack thing doesn't get bad until we get, like, really high pitch. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. We're not going to be pitching up that quickly. Not at Mach 4 anyway. Let's actually do a Mach sweep. What do we need? 12 degrees angle of attack, which is a little bit steep. So we'll be somewhere right around in there. Now then, go from a Mach 4 to Mach 6 at, say, let's say 15 degrees, since we're probably climbing. Mach. So we might have some issues, but I think RCS will be able to keep us straight where we need to go at that altitude anyway. We'll go ahead and check, say, what does Mach 4.5 look like? Actually gets a little bit worse. What about 30 kilometers and Mach 5? Kind of getting dangerous right there, but again, RCS should be able to keep us where we need to be. 5.5, or we either need to be going very, very fast. Definitely need to be going like Mach 6 before we get much higher. We do have a lot of RCS fuel in this. I think we're going to be okay. Those are still, no they're not. Arrange those, there we go. Now then, let's add back in our landing gear. There. Plop these down just behind the center of mass a little ways. And then we'll, that's a little bit more than I want. There we go. Angle that way. Could put them underneath of these, but I don't think I want to put that much stress on our wings. I remember I want to narrow these a little bit. Thickness at the tips. That'll decrease our drag a tiny bit. I think I might want to, oh, those have control system, so I'm not going to fiddle with that, but these two I can fiddle with. That actually makes them look a little bit better, I think. So make sure that hasn't made anything go horribly wrong. Okay, that did make things go horribly wrong. Or something did. Mach 4, 25 kilometers. What did we do that messed everything up? Could it be this? No. I have no idea why that's negative. Update. That is what we're checking, weren't we? Alright. Oh, I bet it's the landing gear. Come on, both of you raise. It's not supposed to account for landing gear, but I think the particular mod landing gear, this one, is not working properly. No, that still is not working. Alright, let me fiddle with this for a moment. It works at 4.1, or Mach 4.1, which is close enough for me, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. I think with engine gimbaling and everything, we'll be fine. Now then, we need to adjust our landing gear. So we'll make sure to align the wheel, and of course it needs to flip because apparently it always gets placed backwards, which is a tiny bit of pitch down, and that's probably good enough. According to that, we have, what, a 4-degree angle? Or something? Now then, let's make sure that these are on. Adjust our various engines and things. Okay, parachutes. Parachutes can probably be moved down. And they'll need to be readjusted. Plan landing speed, all that stuff. Acceleration, yep, apply changes. Due to the increased mass, we're going to want that. And what else was there? Pretty sure there was something else. Oh yes, we need to set up the other action groups. Close this. We'll go with lights. It's going to be something. What is lights going to be? We'll have a light speed toggle this one. And abort will be toggle the jet engines. Okay, that should work. Staging looks correct. I might actually put this engine a little bit higher. Now let's go test this plane out. Oh, we need a engineer thing. Because I'm pretty sure we took ours out. I don't think that one has an engineer thing on it either. I'll just put ours right there. And I can cram this one somewhere around in there. And we're also going to want a little bit of power solar panels just in case. Probably unlikely that we'll ever need these. But if we do, we have them. 99 times out of 100 we won't need them, but that 100th time we'll be glad we have them. Alright, again, now then let's go test this. I had to go back and adjust the suspension on the landing gear because due to how heavy we are, or how back heavy we are, it was tilted too far up. It's still tilted a little bit far up on takeoff, about 1 degree or so, which is an interesting thing, as we will be tilted up when we take off, but tilted down when we land due to burning up all of our fuel. I also went back and changed out the air brakes with the STX air brakes. I generally prefer using those because I think they look better. And of course, stuck them in the brake action group. This is flying pretty well. We do have a little bit of trouble gaining speed at certain points, but not too bad. There is none of the instability that you would expect from the stability derivatives page. None of the NB issues, even though we're going much slower than Mach 4 at about 25 kilometers. There is not even a hint of wobble. We're climbing up basically to where we're at the limits of our intake air. And then we're going to get going as fast as we can at that altitude, which looks to be a little bit over Mach 4, not quite as fast as I would like. Using the pilot assist thing to kind of help us hold our altitude. And then we're going to drop down. and start climbing really fast. We drop down to about 25 kilometers, and we want to get a little bit of a momentum, vertical momentum going before we kick on the the rocket engine. And you notice a little bit of wobbliness there, which caused us to have to turn on the RCS. But other than that, it's pretty much a fairly standard orbit trajectory, keeping our vertical speed between 1 and 200 meters per second, and then running the engines down until they get air stored. We're almost out of the atmosphere, or our apoapsis is. And now then we're just going to hold prograde so that we don't have very much drag while we go up to our apoapsis. And now that we're out of the atmosphere, we'll just circularize our orbit. Try to. It doesn't take very much. I'm looking at the surface velocity and am off a few hundred meters per second because I'm thinking it's orbital velocity. But we do still have a fair amount of a delta V left now that we're in orbit, and we can get rid of our satellite. Go off and do some contracts or something. Now then, we'll head in for the landing. Re-entry was nothing special. We just did a fairly shallow entry, coming in over the desert and then gliding for a ways. And now we're in for a landing. Actually handling a lot better than I was expecting for such a high altitude craft. Though we do dip down a little bit too early. Way too early. That was my fault. I could have done that better. And I also don't have a waypoint or anything on the runway like I usually have to help us line up, but we do get fairly well lined. And coming in. Hit the brakes a little bit too early, the air brakes. But we land, we get the parachutes, and that is it for this episode. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment and I will do my best to answer them. Like if you like, subscribe if you're not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.